On this episode of the Star Trek Universe podcast, we are talking about Lower Decks 105, Cupid's Errant Arrow, right after these commercials from people we have no control over.
Welcome to the Star Trek Universe podcast. My name's Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Robertson.
Dave, how you doing, man?
I'm all right. Happy Star Trek Day.
Oh, is it Star Trek Day?
It is Star Trek Day, and happy Star Trek Day to all of you out there in Star Trek land.
Wow. What does Star Trek Day commemorate? Is it the first day it aired?
Star Trek.
Like the first episode aired is what I'm asking?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Thanks.
It commemorates
asshole.
Star Trek. Yeah, I believe it is. I'm going to check that real quick. No, it was September 6th, actually.
Oh. What was September 6th?
Well, wait. No.
Already something?
Well, hold on now. I've got Wikipedia telling me it's September 6th, 1966. And now I've got Google, though, telling me that the air date for The Man Trap was September 8th. I thought it was 8th.
How far? That was the man. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Let's talk about Lower Decks. We clearly didn't do our research on this particular issue. And as deep as we normally go on research is not showing us the truth, so.
I mean, I've thought it was the 8th for years, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. Maybe.
I can barely remember my own age.
Yeah, you got a birthday coming up.
Yeah, I know. It was funny because my sister called me and she was like, I want to figure out birthday stuff. And I was like, whose birthday is it this time? And she was like, who in the hell's birthday is in September? I was like, is it September? It was that scene out of Half-Baked.
Yeah, well, it's during a pandemic, months are fungible.
Pandemic, schmandemic. I'm like this all the time.
All right, let's talk about Lower Decks. This is Lower Decks episode 5. And it's there's a few plot lines. Three pretty distinct plot lines. I feel like most of these episodes have had two, and I like that this episode adds in the it actually focuses on, and some of the funniest and best stuff I thought was the stuff about the imploding moon.
Yeah, the diplomatic stuff was fantastic.
Yeah, which I feel like so far, it's called Lower Decks for a reason, and so far the show has been about the Lower Decks folks, and the command people have been in the background. Whatever's going on with them is always going on, but it's always very in the back. This time they actually had scenes without the Lower Decks people, and I thought those were some of my favorite scenes.
Right. I really commend them and hope for doing that, and hope they follow through with that. Like, just because the premise is Lower Decks people, don't be afraid to grow and change your show to be better by focusing on the main crew.
Yeah, because as much as I do enjoy the show for a laugh, that was fun because it like picked on a specific thing in Star Trek, which happens all the time. It's like a race of people or two different races on a planet have different problems with each other and like can't resolve them, and there's no resolution, and then they come up with a resolution and there's still one person that's left out, or like one group that's left out, and they're like, no, there's blood on your hands. All that stuff was cracking me up because he like jumped from 0 to 100. He's just like, so but if you do that, my planet will be destroyed. And they're like, yes, but he's like, blood on your hands.
Yeah, he's like, what about the Prime Directive? She's like, that doesn't even apply here.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed all of that.
And I especially loved like the reveal that it was just like a couple of rich douchebags.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like a people. It was just two people.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And then immediately she just turns around and says, implode the moon. I'm very rich.
You maniacs! We just replaced the floors.
Yeah, I think that was a highlight for me, and part of it is that there was actually a thing to decide. I don't know. It felt like a Star Trek episode. It almost made me wish that for a different show, in that these kinds of plots are really being explored the whole time or whatever, and I think they will be more. I don't think this is the last we'll see of that. I think they'll see that was successful in this episode.
Yeah.
But I overall still a good episode. I mean, there's also the great plot line with Boimler and his girlfriend that tied to like every Star Trek series where there's someone who likes one of your characters. Someone comes out of nowhere and likes one of the characters, and you just know there's some sort of monster.
Yeah, and I like the idea that Boimler was going to have romantic issues, and they kind of hung a lantern on it because they had him with a Geordie LaForge teddy bear for her.
Oh, that's right.
And poor LaForge always had romantic issues.
I really like the line, he's a Kirk Sunday with Trip Sprinkles or whatever.
Trip Tucker Sprinkles, yeah. Yeah,
that was fun. There's another example of them like calling out a past crew, but it was just a funny connection. Mm-hmm. I liked it.
Yep. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I had Bethany rewind that. It was fantastic. Yeah, man, I really enjoyed this episode. I really liked the idea that, first of all, Vancouver is where Titmouse Animation that makes the series. So I thought it was funny that the ship's name was the Vancouver.
That's cute. I like Vancouver. I went there last year. It was cool.
Really?
Yeah. I went there on the way went on that Alaska trip last year. And we spent like 4 days in Vancouver on the way, and it was real cool. Vancouver's a very cool city.
I thought it was funny that they're basically making the statement, the Vancouver is better than the California class.
I don't know they were going there, but that is funny.
They were definitely going there. Like all
Cerritos,
of their freaking.
Where's the name Cerritos come from?
Oh, I don't know.
That's just a thing. Just
I have no idea. I could look it up real quick. Oh, it's in California.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Yeah,
it's Cerritos College, Norwalk, California, city of Cerritos. Yeah. So there you go. I really enjoy the idea of an Enterprise-like ship, and there's so much pressure to perform there. Mm-hmm. Like so much crap goes on, and then they even like put a button on it with like the flashback to DS9.
Oh yeah, the flashback to DS9 was so good.
And they're talking about Data's twin Lore, who teamed up with the Borg, and they're like, it's like every week something crazy happens with those guys.
Yeah, I love that too.
I loved it.
It lines up just about right when the Federation was taking over, or like getting stationed there for the first time, right around when the Descent episode happened. So that was just like I loved it. It just shows a lot of love for all this stuff.
Yeah, but that I guess that would have been 4 or 5 years. The Descent would have happened 4 or 5 years before that episode, before them hanging out with the First Contact uniforms on in DS9. But
I didn't notice that they had those uniforms on.
Oh, they totally did.
Well, then never mind. I take it back. You have no love for Star Trek, you assholes. Again, it's me and you, our classic like. I'm like, hey, look at them respecting canon because they're doing the thing with the characters and they were there about the same time. And you're like, yeah, but this aesthetic difference. And I'm like, damn it.
Well, no, I mean, if you go by like what Mike McMahon is saying, if it were to be canon, they must have heard about it 4 years too late, or it's just a thing they know about that they're talking about 4 years later.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Sure. my dad brings stuff up to me. He's like, I hear they're doing this. And I'm like, yeah, 6 years ago. That happened a long time ago. What are you talking about?
Obama's doing?
Don't get me started on that,
man. I won't. Okay. I like the implode the planet line too, because we really haven't dealt much with rich people in Star Trek because they're supposed to have no money, except with the exception of a few notable things, and of course the Ferengi, but they're treated very differently than like people in their society. It's just like a separate thing.
It's very unclear what money. Like, there's definitely some kind of currency in Star Trek.
Yeah, Picard made that even more clear.
Yeah, Picard made that clear. They talk about rations. They talk about credits. They talk about, transporter rations. Like, Ben Sisko's dad's got a restaurant. He's not doing it for his health.
Well, that's the thing. I think that's actually a misnomer. I think that like the idea of owning a restaurant and cooking food for people, the idea, at least as sometimes created, who knows, is that you do all the things that you do for some sort of I know, honor or like whatever. And the thing is, like, that's a question. It's a valid question in Star Trek and in our world. Like, if you gave people enough money to survive, if you gave everybody like enough money to survive, would they work? I think there's a time that definitely people would have. I don't know, like, entertainment is so good now.
Yeah.
Like video games and stuff. Like, I legitimately think it's a problem. Like, if I could just play video games all the time, like, they're so good and so expansive and so like dopamine rewarding, like, and even like you get to the point where you've built your character and stuff like that. Like, I'm playing Avengers right now. It's like 10 or 12 hours in, and I'm like, look how good my character's getting. It's like you get this sense of accomplishment. Like, I really think we would have an issue in our society now if like some people would work, clearly.
I think for a couple of generations, for 2 or 3 generations, it might be really bad. And then eventually I think humans would get really bored, because even me, I'm starting to get really bored with television and stuff. And I'm like, I would really like to work on other things. I want to better myself, and of course this has been a thing that I've been trying to do here and there in between work for a long time. But
yeah, I hope that everyone would, and I think they will.
I don't think everyone would. I think
there'd be some that would not. Yeah. Like, we're just going to dive right in and talk about the economics of Star Trek. Like, people always, look at the economic system of Star Trek and go, let's follow that model. Let's do that. And it's like, yeah, that sounds good. I'd be like, okay, I think we're heading there, and I think we'll eventually get there. But the thing that they always forget is, like, Star Trek talks in the very beginning about how they solved all scarcity. It's like by meeting the Vulcans, they solved all scarcity because they got replicator technology, and like so their industrial and their personal needs are all met by replicator, and it's like, okay, so we got to do that first though somehow. Like, and I'm not saying I think we have solved scarcity. We have more of a distribution problem now. Like, we have enough food to feed the world. We just got to distribute it properly, and we have enough other things. But things like innovation have to happen, and so like there's definitely like something. There's a step missing before we're Star Trek, and it's like, when are we ready to I think it's a slow drift thing. I think we got to like build a social safety net, build it up over time. It's like and then as automation takes over more and more, similar to what we see in Star Trek with replicators, as automation takes over more and more, we can do less work and more supporting of our people, I guess.
Yeah, I think. I don't think Star Trek has ever given us enough to really go on to look at their economic system. Right. Because, like, whether you consider it canon or not, you look at the JJ movies and there are obviously businesses on Earth. Yeah. There are companies, there are corporations. To say that they solved hunger doesn't mean that...
Well, solve scarcity is what they say, which is bigger than just hunger.
Right. But to say that is not to say that certain corporations don't have, a copyright or a trademark on a certain product that you can purchase.
Yeah.
So there are those things. Also, in the original series, there's a statement, something about Spock, do you know how much you're worth to Starfleet? And he begins to give a rather large number, but he doesn't say what the currency is. So there is some sort of currency. There's some sort of worth.
They have Starfleet credits, and they
absolutely.
give like DS9 is probably one of the best examples of a chance to see all this. And it's like the Federation gives it seems like they are giving their officers some sort of payment, and possibly in Latinum, so that they can deal with the other vendors on the ship that are not Starfleet.
Right.
It seems like Starfleet's economy doesn't involve money, as it were.
They may receive some sort of per diem.
Yeah. It seems like that's what's going on with Starfleet. Like, Starfleet operates completely without money, but the rest of the universe does not.
Well, I mean, you have Kirk, who says in 4 that he doesn't have any money. He could be talking about U.S. money to pay in 1986. Picard goes on his little self-righteous rant in First Contact about how they don't aspire for profit or whatever.
Yeah.
But, we don't know what kind of energy those replicators take. We don't know how the replicators work on Earth. We know that there are transporter rations from Deep Space Nine because Sisko used them all up going home on the weekends because he was homesick at Starfleet Academy. So we know there are transporter rations. There have to be there most likely are some sort of ration for replicators. And then even still, they will say, yes, we can replicate things, but this food doesn't, like, how many Starfleet officers have we seen bitch about how the food doesn't taste that good out of a replicator? So, you've got Sisko growing tomatoes in his damn quarters. So I think there are goods and services still to be purchased in this future society.
I totally agree. And so, like, and of course, in the more recent incarnation, which some people will hate because it's changing things a little, or like it's exploring this idea of there being business and wealth outside of the Federation, is the Raffi situation with Picard, where she's like, you're off living in your chalet, and I'm sitting here living at this iconic Star Trek location, Sorry.
No, I appreciated it.
Also, I watched Bill and Ted this week for Avengers Assemble, and they used that rock face in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. I don't know if you remember that, but it's where they actually die. Yeah. They throw them off of that rock face.
I do remember that. Yeah,
that was pretty great. They shortly before they go there, they show Kirk running up that rock face, and then it shows them go out and die there.
That's great.
Kind of fun.
Yeah, I need to rewatch all those.
Dude,
I haven't seen them.
They are good. The first one, you have to kind of get through. The first one sort of feels cheap, like an after school sort of like, it's like, hey, we got to find a history report. It's still funny. It's good. It has great concepts, and there's this whole time travel thing, and it's really cool. But the second and third one I think they're kind of masterpieces. I really, really liked Face the Music a lot.
That's great. Bethany hated Face the Music.
Oh, really?
She hated it.
We'll have to talk to her. I had to talk to her about that because I think it was on par with Bogus Journey, which I think Bogus Journey is amazing.
Well, see, I remember being a kid and hating Bogus Journey, but
interesting.
I don't like. I was a fan of the old cartoon series, so
weird. Wait, what do you mean by old cartoon series?
Yeah,
what do you mean? Was there a cartoon series that predated Bogus Journey, or you hadn't seen it?
There was, I don't know if, I'm pretty sure the cartoon was in between the first and second movie, but I'm not sure. Like, I'm not up on Bill and Ted enough to like.
You're right. It was between the two. It was a 1990 spin-off animated series, because the first movie was 89 and the second was 92, I believe. And it only lasted for 1 year.
I can't remember. Well, I thought it was 2 years. I wanted to say that like they actually voiced the characters in the first season or something, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's 90 to 91, so you might be right. It might be 2 years. Yeah. Anyway, cool.
Yeah.
That's neat. But yeah, I really enjoyed Bogus Journey. But maybe it breaks canon, and even you as a what does that make you 6? I'm sure that really bothered you. Like that's not how that works. Whatever.
Oh, broke canon with what? What do you mean? I don't remember it very well.
Right.
I don't remember it very well, and I don't feel. I don't know. I don't remember.
It's a weird
what
departure.
The canon was.
Bogus Journey is a weird departure because Excellent Journey is just about time travel. Mm-hmm. And Bogus Journey is...
They go to hell and death is running around with them.
Like they don't really time travel in the second one. So it's a very different story. And I can see young Dave being annoyed by that. But I think actually just from like a structure and a movie perspective, it's really good. Yeah, and also, I freaking love the guy who directed Galaxy Quest. Love that. I love that movie. And he directed Face the Music as well. And that's just a perfect fit in my mind. Like that director with that content is just a perfect fit. And Alex Winter, like I know he hasn't had a lot of huge roles other than Bill, but like he's still Bill. Like he pulls it off perfectly. 40 years later or whatever, 30 years later.
I'm really interested to go back because when they announced Bill and Ted Face the Music, I went back and looked and started getting interested in it again, and realized that Death was William Sadler. Yeah, was freaking Sloan from DS9.
That's right,
Section
Sloan
31.
from DS9. Also, the president from the MCU as well.
Mm-hmm. I just saw him in an episode of The Heat of the Night. I'm kind of low-key rewatching In the Heat of the Night. It's such a good show. It's such a good show.
I've heard it's really good. I've never watched it, especially not comprehensively.
I mean, there are certainly some tee-hee, that's cheesy moments, but dude, like I just the third episode, I think, has Nana Visitor, who was Major Kira on DS9, and dude, Jimmy, I don't know what she's been pumping into her veins, but she looks exactly the same, even now as she did back then. That was a good 7 or 8 years before DS9.
It's neat.
It's a good show. Heat of the Night. It's a good movie, and then subsequently a good show that doesn't quite line up canonically, but hey, multiverse.
You're so funny with your multiverse stuff. Now everything gets a pass.
Well, hey, you know what? Like, well, okay, look, it has to be because look, all right, like In the Heat of the Night happened in the 60s, the movie with Rod Steiger and
we're going deep on Into the Heat of the Night. Okay, I'm strapped in. Go for it.
And Sidney Poitier, all right, it happens in the late 60s, I guess.
Yep.
So then In the Heat of the Night, the show happens in the late 80s. And they're kind of like, well, it's only been a couple years. They kind of like they're real ambiguous about like what kind of time frame we're looking at. But the age, especially of Virgil Tibbs or Sidney Poitier's character, does not line up with that because he looks to be in his late 30s or mid 30s maybe, and he's a detective in Philadelphia. And then he looks like he's maybe 35 to 40 in the 80s show. So that just doesn't line up. And of course, it's Carol O'Connor and, oh God, I can't remember the guy who played Virgil in the show. I'm sorry. But plus, there were 2 sequels to In the Heat of the Night starring Sidney Poitier, where he was in 2 different cities playing the same character. And, he wasn't married. He didn't, there were the various things. There are various little things. Also, In the Heat of the Night, he says he stops off from his hometown into Sparta, Mississippi. He's just waiting on the train to come when they pick him up for this murder. And then in the show, they say Virgil grew up in Sparta. Because he comes back for his mother's funeral.
Gotcha.
And the mayor thinks that it'll be a good idea to have a black detective on this all-white force. Mm-hmm. Look good politically.
So, Lower Decks was a good episode this week.
Yeah, man.
It was really, really good. I thought it was well executed. We really... I think we really did a good job of talking about that and only that for this 25-minute episode of the Star Trek Universe podcast.
I agree. I loved that Rutherford and Tendi are like trying to get this dude's pad.
The T-88.
Well, they're trying to get his pad so they can like stop his transfer, and his like password is Riker. I just, God.
I don't know if I fully got that. Like, why would his password be Riker?
Because he looks up to Riker.
Did he say that?
No, it's just
right. No. I guess my point is I wanted it to be like if someone's going to look up to Riker, if someone's password is going to be Riker, I would want it to be the first officer here because he's like that Riker character. You know, it felt it being the Nebuchadnezzar engineer felt like, you know, like whatever. I don't know.
Was he a Nebuchadnezzar engineer? I thought he was like the first mate on the Vancouver.
Wait, who's right? I thought it was the head engineer.
Well, maybe it was. I don't know.
Yeah,
but he was transferring himself over to the Cerritos.
Yeah,
and he had a red uniform on in the transfer.
I thought he had a yellow uniform on.
He had the yellow uniform on.
If he transferred, he'd have a red uniform. So
right.
Maybe he was trying to transfer to move up in rank. Okay. Not that red necessarily means move up in rank, but red is more about, I guess he's trying to be command.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I thought was happening.
Gotcha.
Maybe I just saw it wrong.
That might be. I didn't get why he would think. I guess, and also why they would guess that. Like it made sense if the second in command who likes to lose his shirt and act crazy, if they would guess his thing was Riker, but for them to guess it on him felt weird. Unless there was something I missed where they like saw.
No, I think he told it to them. I don't remember. I watched this a few days ago. I don't remember that.
Okay, so yeah, maybe I missed that. Okay, but yeah, that was all fun. I liked that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. It was fun. I enjoyed it.
It's just more of them being geeky and loving. Engineering love is deep with those two.
Yeah. You know, I was sad for Boimler having the parasite. I was sad that his girlfriend didn't really like him.
Yeah, it was a little sad. I guess it didn't make me sad, but it was sad. It did make me laugh, though, that the parasite still seemed in love with her.
The parasite kept going, love her,
and then she decided to keep the parasite but throw Boimler away. That's very sad for Boimler, but also her walking away with the parasite yelling "lover" at her was like kind of funny, and like, oh, I guess she's seeing past the look and status of this parasite, and she seems like she seems down to date the parasite is what it looked like to me.
Yeah,
those pheromones were strong.
But she was still friends with Mariner now. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Take it downtown.
I felt like everything else in this episode was very classic Lower Decks. Like for this first 4 episodes, it felt very much like everybody is doing the things they do. The engineers are engineering, and and Boimler is trying to be successful at something and failing, and Mariner is being successful without trying, and that's everything worked well for those plot lines. But like the plot line with the imploding moon just really was much. It was just something new from the show, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah,
I liked that version of this show a lot.
Yeah, and it kind of dipped its toe into a little bit of existentialism with those characters. Some of the little jokes, I can't remember what they were, but I remember like the people in the boardroom, just like a couple of them said some stuff, and I was just like, damn, that's dark.
Yeah.
It's like, man, they're getting into it a little bit.
It's what Star Trek does well, when it does make you like question, like, this person wants this person wants this. There's no real answer. There's no correct answer, and how do you find the answer? And it's funny. They never do this on Star Trek, and they always find a third way. Like, or they most of the time they find a third way. That's the Kirk thinking. But like in this situation, they just realized the one person's argument wasn't really a valid one, and that's a funny way to answer that question. Like, oh no, he's just a rich douchebag with a yacht. Like, let his yacht blow up. Like that's fine. Like, we're saving civilizations here. We're not worrying about this rich guy's private island.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good and silly, and like the kind of ways that it's the kind of thing you could do to. I mean, you could have that plotline on Star Trek, but it'd be a much more serious, like clearly. But it'd be like a, this Baron wants his own thing while the civilization is starving or whatever. And in this, it was just like, what about my floors? We just redid the floors, you monsters.
Yep.
It's good stuff, man. Really good. Good episode. I dug it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
All right. Well, I think that's about all we got from Star Trek Universe Podcast today. We'll be back real soon, guys, with more of this. More of this. If you like this, there'll be more of it.
I'll update you because I'm not doing an In the Heat of the Night podcast, but I'll update you guys on how it's coming.
Oh yeah, please continue to have an In the Heat of the Night segment on every Star Trek Universe podcast.
I'll update you with what Star Trek star I saw.
Yeah, just like a 3-minute In the Heat of the Night update segment.
In the heat of the trek.
That's the silliest shit. Just people try to tune in next week and they can't find the show because we've renamed it In the Heat of the Trek.
Well, Bubba, I saw Major Kira on In the Heat of the Night.
Oh man.
Yeah.
All right. Jolan True, people. Jolan True.
Happy Star Trek Day. Live long and prosper.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.